You know, lost souls are not that different from those in the zone. The zone is enjoyable, sure, but when that joy becomes obsession, one becomes disconnected from life. The soul can be a funny thing. It's regarded as an incorporeal essence of a living being, and yet, because of the many religious, philosophical, and mythological traditions, the soul, or psyche, can be various things to many different people. It can be mortal or immortal, seen or unseen, factual or even fictitious. Whatever the scope of anyone's belief on what the soul is, Pixar Studios, with the direction of Pete Docter, inspired to go further from what emotions stimulate within us, in Inside Out, to what purpose and drive can inspire within all humans in the pursuit of the meaning of life. A big question for an animation, but beautifully crafted to roll up its sleeves and to give it a try. This is 2 takes, and this is 1 shot, an analysis of the Pixar animation, Soul. Be warned, spoilers are throughout. The idea of Soul came about from director Pete Docter's inspiration of how he felt after writing and directing Inside Out. But it wasn't through his success, it was through the emptiness of the expectancy of success. Pete explains. Having so much success in that film, I found myself wondering, why don't I feel like my life is all wrapped up and solved in a nice bow? Why didn't it fix everything? This is a universal question on why something has not fulfilled our needs. But as humans, we base on always wanting more, and so, with those burning questions in tow, Pete decided to base his next creation on this very topic, by beginning at the very end. How looking back from our deaths can make us realise how beautiful our lives are, and the way we live it to find purpose is really up to us. From all of the religious perspectives that have been interpreted what a soul is, I am going to concentrate on the philosophical side, leaning on Plato's tripartite theory of soul. Plato, drawing on the words of his teacher Socrates, considered the behaviour of a person to be determined by the essence of that person's unconscious and conscious mind, or psyche. Based on how the film has explored the soul and a person's essence visually, it can perhaps be understood how it follows Plato's theory of this essence to be an incorporeal, eternal occupant of one's being, and that even after death, the soul exists and is able to think, bring reason, character, feeling, and memory. Much like the many souls waiting to go down to Earth, their visuals are transparent, with no recognisable features, unless they are coming back from Earth. The great before, the main hub of new souls, almost being like children, have a new slate, but when giving aspects of their ego, that is where they form personalities. The mentors that have come from Earth to help the Jerrys in inspiring new souls to find their spark, their characteristics and form has changed based on the bodies they inhabited on Earth. Therefore, their soul, their character, is still there. The body can die, but the soul lives on and can continuously be reborn, perhaps like reincarnation or metempsychosis. But the film isn't concentrating on the aspect of whether or not reincarnation is true or false. It's concentrating on the soul and its connection to Earth and the senses, and what we, when we are born and throughout our lives, experience. Plato's theory of the soul goes further to connect the body to the soul based on emotion taking a physical, metaphorical form within the body. Much like how an emotion like sadness can make our stomach drop, or how happiness can make our head feel lightheaded, it's the same here. There is a connection, an embodiment between body and soul, and in Plato's theory, it's in 3 different regions. The logos is located in the head and is related to reason and regulation of other parts. The thymus, related to the spirited emotions, is located in the chest, and the eros, desires, located in the stomach. It seems everything has a place. And if we link it back to the film, 22's steady realization of the senses, especially taste, as well as the pure wonder of being human, living in an open world full of possibilities, has them becoming wanting of a human's physical life. Emotions seem to boil to the surface in certain areas, much like excitement being butterflies in the stomach, which has 22 encapsulating this in their accidental journey in a human form. Think of the fear, the wonder, the joy that 22 experiences on Earth, and then compare it to the great before in the Hall of Everything. This hall is a place where new souls are taken to experience and help inspire their spark by experimenting and playing with replicas of the items on Earth. It is dull and faded in comparison to what it is in real life. What 22 needed was the real thing, the real deal of what life has to offer. Any sort of replica wouldn't amount to the rawness of the vast colour and expression on the senses. And I'm not surprised when it comes to 22 and Joe going back to the great before, 22 running away, wanting to keep what they have found. And then their emotional breakdown of essentially finding that thing that helped 22 see and feel things differently, and then have it ripped away, making them become a lost soul. From accepting in ignorance that 22 wasn't missing anything from Earth, the fear of missing out from it all because they would not find their spark. It's a scary rollercoaster ride, I can tell you. But it's not just 22 who learns a great deal in a short space of time. There's Joe to consider as well. The fear of never getting to that one thing he wanted throughout the film, to be a jazz player, narrowed his enjoyment of his life to the point of exclaiming that he has no choice over the matter, that his purpose was always determined for him. This theory almost hints at the purpose of someone's life to be based on a determinist approach. This proposes that all behaviour has a cause and is predictable, with free will becoming an illusion and behaviour being governed by internal and external forces over which there is no control. It makes the events we govern to be chosen to actually be inevitable. A rather interesting concept, however, if we explore it. We might find hints of it throughout Joe's journey, especially at the beginning. He is attempting to fulfill his chosen life's purpose as a jazz pianist, performing on stage with the stars. What we are introduced to is everything else around him that projects other potential purposes or choices in his life. He is a music teacher, given the choice to go full-time. He has a loving mother and aunts. He lives in a nice building. He enjoys music and can get lost in the zone of enjoying it. However, his mindset makes it look as though it was almost predetermined without any choice. The primary example being that he was introduced to jazz music because his dad made him see a band play. This can be placed in determinism, that this introduction to something external created something internal in Joe without his say-so, and that was that. Joe chose nothing else to fill his passion. But like Moonwind points out, an obsession in the joy or pursuit of this joy can sometimes disconnect one from their own life. And at the beginning, comparing it to when Joe is in the body of a cat, he realises what he's been doing and decides, when given a second chance, to act differently and enjoy life as a whole. So perhaps, the passion behind something that can consume someone can be seen as determined by something external. But that doesn't make a soul's essence, reason for living, to be that way. Also within the realms of existentialism, with determinism, is the traditional view that the essence, the nature of a thing, is more fundamental and immutable than its existence, the mere fact of its being. So this is where determinism lies. The reasons of why, how, where, what, and when fall in play as being pretty important. But also under the same flag of existentialism, Jean-Paul Sartre, a philosopher, posits the idea that, in contrast to the searching claim, human beings, through their consciousness, can determine and create their own values, with their own meaning for their lives, because they do not possess any identity or value. It is through the act of creating and learning and inspiring that identity and value takes place. The act of living makes their existence more significant. With me so far? This way of theory, from Sartre, named existence precedes essence, means a personality is not built over a previously designed purpose or model of existence. It is the human being that chooses to engage in such an enterprise. Their essence is defined by how the individual creates and lives his or her life. It is not predetermined, like 22 learning and finding themselves whilst they were human. It is almost like 22 represents this view, whilst Joe represents determinism. And since they are both under the same umbrella of existentialism, they meet in the middle and perhaps find out which one is more relevant to them. It is not a battle to see who is right and wrong, it's just a journey to see what feels right for each person. And this journey of Joe, a person that is experiencing life on Earth but was consumed by one thing, and to a soul, 22, that hasn't had the chance, they both eventually looked beyond their own wants and needs to eventually realise something they haven't considered before. 22 wholeheartedly embraced what was around them, and Joe, within the body of a cat, learnt to realise that his tunnel vision of his one true passion of piano playing had essentially narrowed his own enjoyments of life, even to the point of ignoring potential new ones. This is what he chose for many years, to follow his passion to the point of ignoring the rest of the world. 22 opened his eyes to being more open-minded, logos, more open-hearted, thymos, and would lead to his desires, his passions, eros, to open up too. And Joe gave 22 the chance to feel and experience things firsthand, which, I must admit, is the best way to know whether something is for you. And for 22, this was definitely the case. The example of 22's journey and how it wasn't necessarily anything of importance that made their spark, like a job or passion, and then comparing it to someone like Joe, who has a passion of piano playing, makes the questioning of what the meaning of life, the purpose of existence, and the spark that inspires the living to really be about. Soul emphasizes this need for the audience to perhaps look into the enjoyment of life being as it is. It's not about a set goal or purpose. A spark within a soul is what brings it alive, and therefore brings the soul into being, brings it into understanding it's ready to live what inspired it. It could be understood that external and internal events that are seen as predetermined can help discover that value and identify to someone's existence. To have a couple of events outside of one's control thrown at us like a curveball, and to then perhaps understand that we have the choice and the passion to learn from it and be who we want to be based on our decisions. And the fun thing is, it doesn't have to be anything of importance. Like Joe said to 22, you're pretty great at jazzing, and that can be enough. If you enjoyed what was said, please follow me on Anchor, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms for the latest episode, and be kept in the loop through my Instagram at 2takes_podcast. If you want to help me in the making of each episode, there is a listener support platform that can benefit the levelling up of this podcast, as well as have you, the supporter, having access to extra content. Find this at anchor.fm/2takespodcast/support. And as always, thanks for listening.